Welcome to the Climbing the Charts podcast. I'm Angie Lawless, and I'm here with my co-host, Brandon Miller.
Today, we are honored and very excited to welcome Derrick, a.k.a. Moe Moore, as our guest on Climbing the Charts. But before we get started with Moe, we wanted to call out a silent guest, Nicole Hester, a photographer with the Tennessean. While you won't hear or see Nicole today, we did want you to know that Climbing the Charts is also climbing the charts. Moe is one of the co-founders of Slim Huskies, along with Clint Gray and Emmanuel E.J. Reed, which has become a smashing success, now sporting 8 locations in Tennessee, 3 in Georgia, so 11 total, we think. It's hard to keep count. We've heard Clint, Moe's business partner, once say that it's more than pizza. It's, quote, pizza, art, and music. It also became the first Black-owned business on Broadway when the team opened their 5th and Broadway location on March 4th of 2021. Moe is a 2007 graduate of Tennessee State University, where he majored in political science and government. While a co-founder of Slim Huskies, his LinkedIn title describes him as the Chief Strategy Officer, the CSO.
Yep.
But enough with the formalities. Let's dig into this founder's story. Welcome to the show, Moe, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We are so excited. Moe doesn't know this, but when we started this podcast, Slim Huskies was, I think, the first company that I wanted to have on the show. And it just, I mean, you guys have just such a cool story and are so important, I think, to Nashville and what we hopefully are, moving toward being just a more, integrated community and business, and really love to see a lot more large-scale minority-owned businesses here. But at that time, I can't remember, we reached out through a friend of a friend of a friend, and then we just didn't get the connection. And then
This was back August 2022.
and then, we got connected. We hit it again recently and got connected, and you were awesome. So so excited to be here today. This is really going to be a good time.
Okay, because this is Music City, we like to ask our guests about their musical interests. We know you enjoy hip-hop, and that music is an important part of Slim Huskies, in its DNA. What music are you listening to today?
Man, honestly, I'm not even listening to music that much right now. I'm listening to like a bunch of audio books and stuff like that right now. That's what I probably spend most of my time listening to. But when I do listen to music, I'm not really into like music with words anymore.
Okay.
I've been listening to a lot of like 70s jazz funk fusion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So Bob James and Idris Muhammad, Roy Ayers, like that type of music, just some cool, like listening, riding, music to, too many words in my ear.
It kind of like lets you maybe focus inward as opposed to outward.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I've been tapping into a lot of jazz funk fusion, 70s.
Okay.
And also some Japanese, like 70s jazz funk fusion as well, which is really like a cool genre of music. So
Yeah. A lot of great music out of Japan that you don't, tap into a lot over here. But.
Yes, I just saw the New York Times just ranked their 9 best movies of the year so far. One of the things called Opus, about Japanese. I haven't seen it yet, but it sounds like it's a Japanese movie that is basically a musical performance.
Okay.
With no narrative. So maybe one to check out.
Oh, yeah. I have to check that out.
Okay, so tell us a little about the music connection to Slim Huskies. We know that some of your better-known dishes include the Roni 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 and the Nothing But a V Thing, being examples of pizza names influenced by hip-hop culture.
Yeah, man. When we started Slim Huskies, I guess I got to go in a little bit of the history about just how we started Slim Huskies, how it came about. We had a moving company. That was our first business back in 2010.
And, let's see, the green truck moving and storage.
Yeah. That was our company, and we sold that in 2017. But in the midst of that time, like, we would be on the road a lot, eating a bunch of pizza and just stopping at. But we would be in like DC a lot, or New York, Chicago, spending a lot of time in those like large, like dense cities, or even Detroit. and we would walk into these spots in these neighborhoods, and the menu would kind of reflect the neighborhood that it's in, the music, pictures on the wall. It's like, and Nashville had that, but not in North Nashville, so to speak, on Buchanan or Jefferson Street, right? We got some old like classics like Silver Sands and stuff like that. It's just a classic meeting three. You know where you are when you walk in there, right? You know what you're gonna get. The service is gonna be great, food is gonna be great, but it wasn't an abundance of that type of culture in Nashville. And so when we said, man, we're gonna do this pizza restaurant, it's like, man, we gotta infuse it with all those things that we enjoy, that we like. When people walk in, they know automatically it's a Slim Huskies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the hip hop names and the R&B names, the '90s R&B, is just some stuff that we grew up on, and we could make it, not so far. The names not so far out that you wouldn't recognize what it is. You know what I mean? Like a smoking herb, it's literally a chicken. It's got chicken piece on it, so
right?
Smoke, or smoked salmon on it. So it's not like we calling it a get jiggy with it or something like that. And you don't know what that is. You know what I mean? So
I like that. Like the nothing but a V thing is obviously a vegetarian pizza.
Yeah,
so
it is, right.
Sense,
so it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes restaurants get like way out there with the name.
Yeah.
Too far out. It's like, what are we doing here?
Right.
So, yeah.
And so is it the same menu then, across your locations?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, same menu. Some variations to like some of the college universities and airports don't have everything on the menu just because it'll be,
you need to simplify it.
Simplify it, right. But yeah, it's pretty much the same across the board.
Oh, cool. You already went back a little bit, but let's take it back to when you were getting fired from jobs.
Oh yeah, I got fired from all my jobs.
Which is funny, I think, now, because most entrepreneurs are terrible employees.
Yeah.
We're not wired that way.
Right.
But what was it? I mean, what was your like psychological state? When that's going down and you're like, you've graduated, you've got a degree, you're getting fired. I mean, how are you feeling, and what made you be like, all right, like we got to keep this train moving?
Yeah, the firings were pretty much like, I don't say by choice, but I knew it was coming. You know what I mean? And honestly, not because I was a bad employee at all. Like I was, I feel like I was a pretty good employee. It was just that my mind was pulling me somewhere else. You know what I mean? I was air traffic controller for a year, a little over a year, and I moved to Saginaw, Michigan. We did training in Oklahoma City, moved to Saginaw, Michigan. And I was doing my thing, and I was in Saginaw, Michigan. Nothing against Saginaw, but it just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? And
it clears out for. It gets busy part of the year and then clears out.
Saginaw, yeah. Just northern Michigan, period. Yeah. Just because they got summertime is beautiful. You know what I mean? The weather is beautiful. The beaches, or on the lakes, it's beautiful.
Lake Michigan's the prettiest body of water I've ever seen.
Right. So, but it just wasn't for me. And I was working a job. I was trying to leave and trying to work on ways to get out of there, like emergency, relocations and all this type of stuff, and it just wasn't happening. And so I just told them I was taking the leave for a little while. And the leave ended up being forever. But
that's awesome.
I, looking back on it, like I got fired from that job. I left, but then it was like, you coming back? I'm like, I don't know. I was 24 years old, like not really like responding how I should have. You know what I mean? Like should have just told them like, I'm not interested. I want to take a leave for a while or figure out something. But they was like, you know what? Terminated. You know what I'm saying? I got a letter in the mail. It was like, I was like, well, it's cool. Like,
you're like, it didn't. You didn't have a lot to support, so it was right. Fine.
Right. I had already started, making my way into, doing a year of law school and starting the green truck, and at that point, it was like I was fine with it with it all. Like,
Yeah.
losing a job was just like, it's cool. It's a stepping stone. I learned something valuable from every job that I ever had.
That's right.
You know.
And so did you then, when you left Saginaw, is that when you started the green truck?
Yeah. I was working on the green truck, or the idea, the concept, when I was in Saginaw, and then moved back home and got in law school. Went to National School of Law.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
You're like, this is boring.
man, you know,
All they want me to do is read and write.
there's a lot of reading for sure. I enjoyed it, but it was just, there was something else that I wanted to accomplish, that I wanted to do. And again, it's just that pull. Like, sometimes you just got to listen to that voice. You know what I mean? And so we started the moving company at the same time that I was in law school, and so,
Hard to be all over.
Yeah, it was hard to be all over. So I was like, man, if I'm gonna do, this business, I gotta do it with no plan Bs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, because I knew if I had a plan B, then I would I would be 50-50. I would be, one foot in, one foot out, and I had to be fully dedicated. So it's like, man, I just drop out of law school and focus on the business.
There's a famous local songwriter, Lang Martin, and one of the things that I remember him saying to me was that he didn't have a plan B. Mm-hmm. His passion was writing, and he didn't have a plan B, and that's why he thinks he succeeded. Because,
that's important.
Yeah, he didn't have it. Okay, so we covered this, but I think we read each of you contributed like $1,000 startup capital to the
some
moving
less
company.
than others, but yeah.
Some less than others. Somebody owes me some money. And then you guys sold that for 6 figures, reinvested into Slim and Huskies. And I found the way that you guys sort of came up with doing pizza, from what I've heard, to be very relatable, and kind of the way that a lot of entrepreneurs get into their businesses. I wanted you to sort of talk a little bit about how it's like, you're researching it, you're trying to think, well, what's next, and how you landed there.
Yeah, man, one thing that we understood about just any business going into it's like, man, everybody thinks they have like the best idea, which is fine. Like, you're supposed to feel like that, right? But we knew that we couldn't, avoid or negate like the research that it takes before going into a business. We are big proponents of, learning from the people that did it before us. And so with Slim and Huskies, we did extensive research on restaurants and the pros and cons, and all these things about the restaurant industry, and particularly like customer service side of it, right? Now, research doesn't prepare you for actually doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just
Nobody told me about that pandemic.
Right. There's a lot of things that you like, unforeseen things that come up in business. But going into it with a little bit of understanding about, whatever industry that is you're going into, is important, and it's a little bit of get some confidence in that too. So
and I liked how you said that you guys were sort of on the road a lot, and you're like, you decided to do hospitality, and then you researched like, well, what do Americans eat?
That's it. Yeah, what do Americans eat? And it was pizza, hot dogs, tacos at that time was like emerging, like, it was getting up there, and hamburgers.
Yeah.
And at the time, Nashville had this like emergence of like these craft like hamburger spots,
That's
what I
right.
mean? So it's like Gabby's Pharmacy,
Burger
Republic, Burger Up,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So and a bunch of other ones. So it's like, man, hamburgers are cool, but it was like, man, let's just do something different, something that we really, really understood and we really, really liked. Hot dogs, Daddy's Dogs. That's a good friend of ours. That's his lane.
Oh,
he
yeah.
does it great. We that's his thing. And then was it tacos? Mas Tacos. Teresa, that's a really good friend of ours. She was blowing out the water. It's like, we gonna get in there.
Yeah.
And then we were actually I guess not suite mates, but we shared space with Crystal and Joe from Grilled Cheesery as well.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And they were blown out the water with the food trucks. It was like, all these things. It was like, man, let's do pizza.
Yeah.
Like, I think, we can make pizza cool. It's already a cool food, but we can make pizza cool. We can, on the technical side of it, it's low cost, so to speak. The most expensive thing is the cheese. Then you start adding like certain toppings like salmon and shrimp, like that goes up. But
Right.
it's dough sauce cheese.
I mean, I think I heard you say, and I don't know if costs have gone up, but like $3.50, $4 a pizza.
Yeah, to make, but now cost is like everything.
Yeah.
Everything is up right now.
Yeah. So if you say, but at the time, if it's $3.50, $4 a pizza, then margins were pretty good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Get squeezed a little more with all
Absolutely.
the inflation.
Yeah, inflation is squeezing. But, it's kind of part of it, right?
Right.
I think, and just going into the business, it's like, man, pizza, we can build around it. We understand it. We grew up on like pizza parties. It was like, read 20 books, pizza party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
right. Yeah.
The book it
The
thing.
book it, yeah.
Football, baseball, after season parties, it's pizza.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like WWF, WWE, Monday Night Raw is pizza. You know what I mean? TGIF, you remember all the shows used to come on Fridays.
Yes.
It was a good night. It was pizza.
Pizza night.
Like Family Matters
Family
and
Matters, and
Full House.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the best.
Yeah.
Yes, and you get so excited, like you're just like, oh, it's a Friday night.
It's a Friday night, so Blockbuster,
Yeah.
always
R.I.P.
right. Blockbuster, right, was right always next to like a Papa John's or a Domino's or something.
Yeah.
It was like strategic, right? So, I mean, we understood it. We grew up on it. It was like just a good, like, a feeling, with us eating pizza growing up. So it's like, man, let's do that.
Well, that's what I love about it, and I found so relatable, and that I think is really encouraging to like future entrepreneurs. I mean, the way we ended up with a real estate title company. I mean, Brandon and I were searching for furniture stores. We were really into modern furniture at the time, and there was like we explored. We would go to the library, and we would just like look at books and try to figure out. We knew we wanted to do our own thing, but we didn't know what. And then we sort of fell into this because we had a law degree. We loved real estate. We had a law degree. People wanted to see us as a lawyer, and we loved real estate, and so we wound up here. But I think it's super relatable because you're just like thinking, like, oh, we want to do something, and well, this seems good. This seems like a fun space. Let's just look at it and make some very like common sense decisions that maybe you can make later seem highbrow, but they're very basic.
Yeah.
And they evoke a feeling that people hang on to. I think
100%.
super cool.
Yeah. Y'all still in the furniture?
Yeah.
He is more than I am now.
Okay, so we've read that Slim Huskies, started, we talked a little bit, started in the garage in 2015, was the vision of Slim, a.k.a. EJ, Husky 1U, and Husky 2, Clint. Mm-hmm. We've also read that the late Daryl Freeman played a critical role in your entrepreneurial journey. For those who may not have known Freeman, tell us a little bit about, how your life and business was influenced by him.
Yeah, so Daryl just being just an African American man, from not a wealthy background at all by any means in Chattanooga, just having someone that's in the city of Nashville to you see the peaks and valleys and like his success, like that was just inspiring as just it's just as someone that wanted to be in business, that was inspiring all on its own, right?
Yeah.
But then after meeting him, we talked heavily about like real estate and the values of real estate and what that can do for you, in the long run, just owning and holding on real estate. But also just hearing his experiences in business and just the ups and downs in business from firsthand. Mm-hmm. It's just sometimes that's all you need. Mm-hmm. Is to know somebody that's relatable that has accomplished things that you want to accomplish. And I think just that in itself was enough for our relationship and friendship to grow. You know what I mean?
I was just at an event for the incubation and innovation center that was, I guess, created in his honor, memory. It supports lots of, sort of startups and folks locally to become more tech involved and help create these jobs locally.
We grew up in a time where, Netscape and, what I mean, and Apple and everything was like making this like these the internet,
AOL.
AOL. And
you can't not hear it.
That. Right. So tech has always been a part of us. And honestly, we didn't really understand, what Zycron was until we like met Daryl,
Right.
But some of the tech pieces that we implemented into the business, whether it's be software, the kiosk, that was all just us being in tune with the industry.
Right. There was a lot of media in 2021 when you guys opened the Fifth and Broad location about being the first Black-owned business on Broadway. I just looked up, over 25% of Nashville's population is Black, nearly 40% is minority. Why do you think it took until 2021 for there to be a Black-owned business on Broadway?
Yeah, man, I don't know. So I believe there was a Black-owned business there, but we were the first Black-owned restaurant on Broadway.
Okay.
Which is man,
Why don't we have more? I mean, and what can we do to get more now?
I think that number one, the challenges of starting a business, Black, white, woman-owned, whatever the case may be, if you don't have the resources, you don't have the know-how, if you're just trying to survive even, that's the last thing you're thinking about is
Right.
on the business. And then but then once you do develop the resources and you're not seeing yourself, meaning people that look like you in a space, it's very hard to imagine going somewhere or placing a business and investing money somewhere where there's no representation, right?
Right.
So I think that discourages a lot of Black businesses or Black folks to put a business on Broadway. And then historically, that just wasn't a place where, on Broadway, so to speak,
Right.
where folks, where you would get these Black-owned businesses or
Right.
restaurants, right? It would be
Just
more
like
so.
a little hole in the wall.
Yeah, right.
Kind of,
And then Broadway for a long time, it wasn't. I mean, for a very long time.
Not what it is now.
Yeah, until you got the arena,
Bridgestone.
Bridgestone. It wasn't.
Till Bredesen started trying to move people back to downtown,
Right.
and you got the arena.
Right.
And,
So but there have always been Black businesses downtown, but Broadway wasn't one of those places.
Are we doing enough, do you think, as a city now to encourage minority-owned businesses to pop up in all areas of town?
Let me say this: cost of living in Nashville is expensive, let alone going to negotiate a lease and all that type of stuff is expensive. Right. So just that in itself, for any business owner, but again, if you have the lack of resources, then that's discouraging, right?
And I think there's just no question. You can't have a conversation about this without acknowledging, generational wealth being stripped from, particularly the African American community. So when we're talking about lack of resources, that more predominantly.
That's what I'm talking about. Right. So,
and tell us, Mo, but what was the capital environment like when you all were trying to get started, and sort of how is that different now? I mean, so that seems like the biggest barrier for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, for sure, man.
They can't raise money.
Yeah, it's the capital environment. Everything that we've ever done has been bootstrapped. Everything. Right now, we've had some family friend investments into some of the, our restaurants, but you're just getting enough to build out. You're not getting enough to, to sustain or go against those tough times, right? And so raising capital is hard in itself, raising capital when you didn't even know that some of these avenues are out there.
Yeah.
Private equity, VC, like, these family offices and stuff like that.
They sound very highbrow.
For sure.
It's like, what's private equity? VC,
you don't
what?
you don't even know that these things are out there, right?
Yeah.
But for us, the capital raise part is something that we're working on now. But if somebody told us, or if we had the know-how how to set up the business to make it easier to raise capital before starting the business, or if I had that type of knowledge, then it would be 10 times easier, right? But it's just not that many examples in the Black community that have taken that route. It's like, man, you go to work. I'm not go to work. You start your business and you put a little bit aside for the hard times. You pay yourself a little bit. You pay the employees, and you just keep on doing that, right? Which it works. Like, I know some businesses that that has sustained them, and they've done great. Princess, Miss Andre have done phenomenal when she was on Jefferson or just on U and Lane, right?
Yeah.
Cows in Madison, they did a great job, which is they're coming back to Marcus and Clint. They started, but like, they did a great job with that type of, like, and they they're great, as far as like living wise, but
it's not a national sort of take
right. It's not a national scale type business. So scale is when you need that influx of capital to grow, and
I think scale's where you get the influence to really help others. It may not always translate into your bottom line being, bigger, at least for a while, because you're always investing up. But it gives you a platform, and it gives you a way to help.
Yeah, scaling this, we talk about that a lot just amongst ourselves. If we stay with, the one on Buchanan, Memphis, one in Atlanta, maybe 3, or just stay in Middle Tennessee, we would be just, it'd be cool. It's like, but like scaling
it's comfortable.
is comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Scaling is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is.
Very uncomfortable. And I think that, being uncomfortable has zero to do with race or gender or anything like that, right? But again, when you don't have a know-how or the resource or the capital, like, it makes it 10 times more uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
I thought, and this was like something that I was gonna, bring up, but this, this quote that Clint had growing up: "We never saw a minority business, an African American business, scale to what we're doing today."
Oh yeah.
So it's very important for us to be able to show those coming after us the possibilities of what can be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's just it.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are doing. That is, different. But where did that entrepreneurial spirit from the 3 of you guys originate?
Crazy, naive.
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah,
you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know.
Don't know what you don't know. It's just like, we just got this dollar in the dream.
Yeah.
And like, let's go for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's where it comes from. It's just a challenge. You know what I mean? Like, we just wake up and just meet the challenges every single day. And as we grow older, I think that we want to be smarter about the challenges. You know what I mean?
You know how you know how like a baby doesn't like you can put a kid in the water when they're young, and they don't have the same level of fear that they might start developing around 3 or 4.
100%.
I think that's how entrepreneurs are. Like, if you start early, you just don't know. But as you start getting older, you're like, I should be afraid of that.
I'm 39. I'll be 40 in December, and some of the things that I did when I was 25, I definitely wouldn't do that. Some of the stuff I did at 30, 35, like, it's like, I would probably pump the brakes. You know what I mean?
Right.
And figure out some other things. But that's just life, right?
It's like, if you're young, go. Just do it because you've got time to fail. You're good.
So when one thing I'm just always curious about is we talked about like the kind of almost like the secrecy of like all these different funding sources out there, right? The VC world, the private equity world. How do you go about learning those things? And it sounds like that's something you'll have probably had to do, or maybe they call you up and some family office says, we've got $50 billion sitting on the sideline. We want to invest some of it, but how did you? I mean, just as an entrepreneur,
have you gotten that call yet?
Not yet. But is that something that have you had people reach out to you? Have you had to identify? Have you had mentors who have helped make those connections or teach you all about those things? Because I think that's one of the things that's also very true in the real estate development world. I remember I did some work for Daryl Freeman back in the day, and I remember he gave me a tour of his facility. He was telling me this little story about how he had a company and it did this one thing. They did hardware, and then the whole business had to flip because the market changed, and then they did software and just a complete pivot. And he was just whatever my company is, we're going to adapt to the market. But how did you and and your partners, how have you sort of learned these things?
Man, so the private equity thing came about. This is like during COVID. So Danny Myers, Union Square Hospitality Group, they have a private equity group, Enlighten Hospitality, right? Or excuse me, Union Square Hospitality Group and Enlighten Hospitality, however it is, but they popped on our radar, right? Mm-hmm. And then when they did, like, I honestly, to be honest, completely honest, like, I knew nothing about the private equity world and VC world. Like, I would always hear it, and you would hear about like at the Entrepreneur Center, like people doing pitches and stuff like that. But it's like, man, I'm thinking that's strictly for like the tech world,
right?
You know what I mean? And it's like, so I'm not diving in. All I knew about growing a restaurant was either mom and popping it or you franchising it, right? Mm-hmm. Or you just kind of bootstrap it and grow it corporately, right?
Right.
But like how to get that capital in, and that major capital in, that strategic capital in to help you grow, I knew nothing about it. I found out about, private equity 4 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is, someone may look at me and say he's always known about this, but right. I didn't. I didn't.
I mean, same. You have no reason.
Right. I have no reason to. Right. EJ may have, just because he has more finance background, but that wasn't something that we were like throwing around. If we threw around private equity and knew about private equity in 2017, then you could set your business up to be attractive to like what they actually look for, square footage, right. Revenue per square footage and all this type of stuff. Like, you would set it up that way.
Yeah, the metrics in that
world. The metrics, right. In that world that matter to them, you would kind of...
That's really the key, right? I mean, for somebody who's starting a business is dive into what these PE companies look at when they want to buy and get your books straight from the beginning and build that model.
Yeah. But, a lot of entrepreneurs, we
don't know that.
We don't know it, and we just go into it,
But that's how you build your next business, right?
How you build the next
and
one.
So if you're trying to shortcut, that's what you got to learn first. But we didn't know either. I mean, until we've had people, in businesses come, and want to buy, and we're like, we're not looking to sell, but we'll go through this exercise, and you show your books, and you're like, oh. That's janky, and you're like, oh, so we're better now, But I mean, is there anything like, if you had a playbook now for a young person getting started in that world, what would that look like? Where would you tell them to go?
It sounds like the EC is one place. You just mentioned.
EC is one place to go for sure.
Sam Davidson's doing some good things over there too.
Yeah, and it's just. So we're working with a brand called No Free Coffee, right? Mm-hmm. Two guys, Mario is from Nashville, but moved to. He's been in Atlanta, New York, and LA for most of his adult life. Okay. And then Alex is from Dallas, but he and Mario actually like met at a dog park in New York, right? So two dudes not from New York, anything, they just kind of met at a dog park and started. And then during COVID, Mario and Alex started doing pop-ups in LA. They moved from New York to LA, started doing these pop-ups in LA, no free coffee, and it's just like it was started just taking off, right? And so Mario ended up moving back to Nashville and wanted to continue no free coffee. He was working for Meta and everything like that, and just had a really cool job and side job. Like, you know, he does photography for the likes of like Usher and just everybody, right? He's like just a dope dude. Yeah, right. So, but anyway, so they end up, they had a coffee shop in the Heart, which is Hotel by Soho House, or they just sold, but they had it there. It was sharing a space, and then, you know, it's like, man, that closed, and it's like, man, y'all can come use the art space that we had on Buchanan, right? So it's like, man, we'll continue to do art shows because that's something that we love, and we'll, you know, y'all can set up the coffee shop in there as well, right?
Yeah.
So the coffee has taken like a life of its own in that space. And so when we talk to them and just advise them on stuff, it's like, man, hey, y'all go ahead and set this thing up, build this thing out, the first one, keep the book straight, all this type of stuff, like just advising them on here are the metrics that private equity, VC, here are the metrics, even, you know, these family funds, whatever, this is what they're going to look at about y'all's growth.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just about the metrics, it's also about people buy into people as well, right? Mm-hmm. So they got that down pat. Like, when you meet them, you fall in love with them, right?
Yeah.
You think they the coolest dudes, like, you know, they walk on air, right?
Yeah.
Just this cool aura between the two of them, but like here's the fine line, the fine tuning things that you need. So that's the playbook that we give all entrepreneurs in any space. It's like, man, you know, here are the things that folks are going to be looking at, whether you want to sell, whether you want to scale it, if you want to stay mom and pop, cool, but run it like this.
Right.
And this will keep you clean.
And
You know
don't
what I mean?
ever take for granted, if you're I think in Nashville, I can't speak for other cities, but people's doors are open.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
we are a city that we will talk
100%.
to you. We want to
yeah.
help you. We're going to sit down with you and take advantage of that, right?
Yeah, I got great friends in the restaurant industry. You know, Pat Martin has been like a tremendous like help to us, and just
Barbecue.
Martin's.
Yeah, Martin's barbecue. But it's like, but Pat is like, man, Pat be like, hey, you know, if y'all know Pat, he, you know, got this like, you know, tough skin about him, you know what I mean? But he's like really cool, but he's like, man, I count my pickles.
I feel like I may have seen him in like a Hugh Hefner robe at like a Memphis barbecue festival.
Probably,
He's in. I'm sure you've seen this movie. He's in, you know, the last season of Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
he comes to Nashville, and they're at Dino's in East Nashville, sitting around. And it's really cool. If our listeners have not seen that episode, it's highly recommended.
Was Sean in that one too? Sean Brock?
He is.
Yeah. Sean Brock was in it. They went to Waffle House, I think.
Went to Yeah,
that was a good one.
They go to Disgrace Land. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it's pretty funny.
But yeah, I mean, we got some great friends in the restaurant industry. Some new, you know, folks coming up, and you know, your Max and Ben, Strategic Hospitality, those guys. You know, I mean, you
should all sort of help each other.
we
as your
all
own
like
little.
like Max texted me the other day, and you know, we just chopping it up a little bit. I texted Pat yesterday. It's like, you know, it's just one of those like communities. In Nashville when it comes to the restaurant industry.
Right. It's like we're not competing. We're each helping each other.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Build up. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. As Nashville has become a bigger and bigger tourism destination, I just saw the 2023 numbers just came out. You know, biggest year ever for Nashville tourism. It does seem like, you know, the food and beverage industry is driving tourism now. Like when I moved here, it was like O'Charlie's and Red Lobster and Shoney's. Those were like our
Best thing we
restaurants.
had was probably like the Sizzler or something.
Yeah, right.
Outback. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we just have this amazing, ecosystem of restaurants and all this food to table and things that are truly local and reflect the kind of unique DNA of the city. And I think that's, a pretty amazing development. It's taken a
Still
lot
have
of people.
Chili's.
We still have Chili's.
Outback on West End was like the spot.
Oh, it's so good, right? Yeah. And I heard that Red Lobster rolls were in danger. Red Lobster's made some bad
Lobster's
decisions.
in Chapter 11. They're in bad shape.
But
Yeah.
those rolls are good. Anyway.
So partnerships are hard. You've mentioned that not only do you have to get to know each other, you got to learn the communication styles. You also have to keep up with those communication styles, as each of you and your partners evolve. How have you noticed your partnerships evolve, since you sort of started out with your first business? Or
Man, that's like that's a book.
That's a
bigger
book.
than that. Yeah, right. On partnership, man. The partnership. Number one, the one thing that's constant in the partnership is that we're friends, we're brothers. Like that's constant, right? And I think that keeps things at bay and in line within the partnership, which is not an easy thing. It's like to do business with a friend, to do business with a relative is not an easy thing at all, right? But then on the flip side, I think about like, what if I was doing business with a stranger? Like, how hard would that be? You know what I mean? Or how easy would that be?
Or how maybe not fun?
Or not fun, right? So the friendship and the brotherhood keeps things at bay. You know what I mean? But the evolution it's just like, man, we have learned each other like the back of our hand, right? And as we get older, we get families. Like at one point in time, it was like, hey, Friday night, we, done with a move or whatever. It's Saturday, we done. We know we not moving anything on Sunday. It's like, hey, what y'all doing? Y'all want to go get a drink? Y'all want to go to a party? And now it's like, on Friday hit, I might not talk to these dudes all weekend. You know what I'm saying? Until Monday, or they might text me something, or I might text them something, whatever. And it's like, they might not even respond because it's like, man, they doing, soccer games and dance recitals and all this type of stuff. So or basketball, it's like, so I mean that has been probably the biggest evolution is that we have other obligations now other than like each other work. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's taking some learning, right? It's like one time it's happened to all three of us at different times. It's like I may have been at a dance recital or something, right? My daughter's dance recital. This is early on, probably like 2016.
How old's your daughter now?
She's 12 now. Oh. So like I'm at a dance recital, and then this is the time EJ and Clint, they didn't have any kids, right? So I'm like, I lead a dance recital. This might be like 9 o'clock. I'm like, what y'all doing? I'm hearing like loud music in the background and stuff. I'm like, dang, y'all just left me out. Like, what's up? Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But now it's like, I could care less.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like, and then it might be like, EJ has something to do, or Clint has something to do, and two of us are out, with other friends. So. But yeah, so but those things that's just growth. Right. That's just personal growth, right? And then personal growth that always reflects back into the business side, right? Mm-hmm. So even the risk, like we talk about, like the risk that we like at 39, 40, we ain't taking the risk that we were taking when we were 25, 35, right? So that changes, and you start thinking about that different. So, but the partnership. The one constant thing about the partnership is the friendship and the brotherhood. Right. Again, that's what keeps things, level.
I was going to say, the one thing that I hear through like the Entrepreneurs Organization, I was surprised because, I have two partners, Brandon and another partner, and man, like the stories that you hear, it's like I'm trying to buy my partner out. I didn't like that partner, and we haven't really. We've had certainly plenty of days where we didn't like each other, but not not like many moments like that. And I feel like a lot of it comes down to you have to be in a partnership with somebody that you trust.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know they've got your
Yeah,
back, because if
yeah,
there's
yeah.
any lack of trust, and the other thing I think is that you have to adapt and see sort of somebody's work style as an overall thing, because if we got down in the details of like, when we do, that's when we're at our worst, right? Like, you're not doing this today. I've done this. You've done this. You've done this.
Yeah, it don't work like
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But if you know somebody is just like a complete slacker, that is not the person to get in business with, because you are going to.
Yeah,
You
and
gonna end
I
up
think
picking
what
up
I
the
see,
slack.
just studying businesses and reading I read a lot of business biographies, is that the partnerships that work better than any solo endeavor. But most of them probably do not work as well as most solo endeavors. But if you look at the sort of your kind of Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger type partnerships, right? These are partnerships that last
Just like ours.
just like ours, 50 years, a lifetime, right? And like those are the ones that you can't replicate with individuals. So I think it's
Right.
the sort of, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you got to go with a team.
Yeah.
And usually those are hard to find. And I think I think you're right that there's a lot to be said for, friends probably also are kind of some of the worst potential partners,
Yeah.
but they're also the most likely to have longevity
Yeah.
going for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I heard you don't call Clint for early morning jobs. You don't call EJ to come make small talk.
No.
What are they not calling you to do?
I can do everything.
We talked a little bit before we started about how important Buchanan Street is to the city, and then also to you guys, obviously, as your I guess your flagship location.
Yeah, it's the first one, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about why that area is so important, to you guys and the history.
Yeah, man. North Nashville historically has always been, every city has this historical mecca of, especially southern cities, of African American culture. You know what I mean? And North Nashville is that, and was that, and will forever be that for African Americans in Nashville. You got Jefferson Street, right? You got TSU, Fisk, Meharry on Jefferson Street. Go a little bit towards Bordeaux, and you have American Baptist College, right? And education and church has always been the center of African American culture. When you are enslaved and you're not allowed to learn how to read and write, and you get that opportunity, you make that a fabric of the community and who you are, right? As well as like church, just the faith and especially in the civil rights era, like how the church was like, it was the place to go to make decisions. It was the political base for that time, right? And still is, but you have on every corner in North Nashville, there's a church. I don't know how many churches Jefferson Street has on it, but you got enough. You got a lot of them. Where if you need to go pray, you can pop in.
Got a place for you.
You got
Yeah.
a place to go. But North Nashville is that. So we spent a lot of time in North Nashville. I think everybody, if we didn't go to church, and I grew up in East Nashville, EJ grew up in East Nashville, and Clint grew up in South Nashville. But every weekend, it was something in North Nashville. You know what I mean? Whether it was a grandparent's house, a cousin's house, a church, something at TSU, like everybody
That's
was
where you're
on.
going.
That's where we were going. Like there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I tell people I didn't go to Antioch until I was like 18. You know what I mean? I didn't go to Brentwood until I was taking ACT courses out there. It was like athletes. We took this ACT course. I think it was Miss Bunch or something like that. But we did these ACT courses out there, right? And so I'll be using like MapQuest trying to like find my way to Brentwood. but North Nashville, I know that like the back of my hand, just like I know East Nashville like the back of my hand, right? So it was just very important for us to start our first business in North Nashville.
Right.
Again, it's like it's the fabric of the African American community in Nashville, and with the history of the interstate running through there, you know, the economic plight that happened after that. You get, you know, so many blighted spots in North Nashville, but it's still always continued to be a thriving neighborhood as well. And that is, you know, kind of a testament of the people that remain and stayed and continue to invest in it. But also our business is a reflection of North Nashville. Like you know, despite the lack of capital, despite the unknown and the not known, and you know, some of the blight and hard times that you have in business, like we continue to thrive and be a beacon of hope and a place that you can always go. Then that is North Nashville to African Americans. So to have
That's
our
amazing.
business there.
And you know what's really
what it-
cool about
that's what
Slim
it
and
was.
Huskies is that it's super meaningful, right? Because what it does is it brings the outside community in
Yeah, yeah.
to help, you know, North Nashville to see all of that history.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, I mean, Jefferson Street is nothing like what it was.
Oh yeah.
And so it's really, it gives me chills to think about how cool it is to kind of like revitalize that and bring that back.
The neighborhood, man. I mean, it's some great things going on over in that neighborhood. You got shops popping up. You got T.O. Fun, the guys that own Mockingbird, right?
Yeah.
So they opened a spot in on Buchanan. You know what I mean? You got No Free Coffee. These two cool hip dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Open the coffee shop. You got Slim Huskies. You got, you know, it's just all these like, you know, great bag ladies. It's just a lot of great things going on, and a lot of people are starting to buy and develop.
Oh,
I was
man.
going to say, in the real estate world, you know, I find that when I hear the word, you know, Buchanan Arts District, usually the word Slim and Huskies is in the 5 or 6 words after that. So it is a centerpiece, I think, of that revitalization.
Absolutely.
So y'all get a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we've talked about how many brick and mortar restaurants, 11, I think, currently. You got frozen food options.
Yeah. We're working on
in
frozen
stores.
CPGs like heavy right
Yeah.
now. We're working on that.
Are they out yet?
Man, so we have a few at Turnip Truck.
Yeah.
John Dyke is a really good friend of mine. And so
Again, just Nashville supporting
Yeah, that's
Nashville.
my guy. He was in EO as well.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
And Tyler Cobble.
Yeah,
Tyler's a good friend of ours.
He's the one I
Yeah.
was talking about. He does the live podcast. He's just like, you know,
Oh, that was
clicking on
Tyler.
the,
I can see that.
He's trying to help us up our game.
I can see that.
I know.
Tyler probably got like a T-shirt that got his name.
Yeah, oh, he definitely sporting, you know, cobble.
Yeah,
everywhere he
Cobble,
goes.
yeah, man. Anyways, we got a few in Turnip Truck, but we're working on like we want the frozen pizza to be like a premium frozen pizza, and we're working on like John has been a big help, like pushing, just helping us get in front of people that
Get
can
the
help
connections
Get connections. Then we have a good friend of ours, Lisa Williams, who works for a private equity company that specializes in CPG. She's out in the Bay Area, but she has local roots here in Nashville, and she's been a huge help.
Exactly.
with us.
Your
So-
next venture, you start with that private equity
That's
and
it.
build up.
That's it.
Well, and, you know, I think, you know, you got food trucks. Tell us about, though, Pure Relentless Manifestation, the merchandise brand.
Oh yeah. Preem. Yeah. So it's like, man, we got these shirts and these hoodies and everything, pants and all this type of stuff that we launched. And it was something that we like to wear our brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We like to wear our friends' brands and our brands. And so it's like, man, we don't have like, we got some cool stuff, but like we need something like that we can wear anywhere, right? That still represents Slim Huskies, but not like you got a big Slim Huskies logo
Right.
plastered on your chest, right?
I need some variety in my wardrobe.
Some variety.
Yeah.
So it just started off just for us, and then, you know, got a couple of friends like, man, I like that. Like, honey, let me get one. Let me get that hat. So it's kind of like, all right,
All right, we'll build
let's
this out a little bit.
Yeah.
And so the manifestation, though, I mean, that's got kind of a meaning for you guys, right?
Yeah, Clint can spit it off more than I can about the manifestation, but that's man, we have just continuously and will forever speak and think and work the things that we want to accomplish into existence.
Right.
So that's the manifestation part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the hardest part is figuring out where you want to go.
Yeah.
But once you know where you want to go, just do it.
Just do it.
Believe it.
Yep.
So, name of a book that every person should read.
Oh, The Alchemist. Yeah, everybody should read The Alchemist.
All right. Do you still watch WWF, and who is your favorite wrestler?
Man, my daughter. So me and my daughter, we went to.
You got one kid?
No, I got 4, but she the only one that's like into it right now. But we went to Summer Slam when they had it at British Arena like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know she was like into it. And then when she got into it, I was like, oh man. So I started pulling up all these YouTube clips, Stone Cold. I was like, man, this is like classic wrestling. Like sound like a real old dude.
Yeah.
Like this is classic wrestling. Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, you know what I mean? But my favorite wrestler is still the Ultimate Warrior. Yeah. That's my guy.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
You ever see, Brandon, what was the name of that rundown hotel that we saw like
Stadium Inn.
the Stadium Inn? Did you ever watch
yeah.
any wrestling and they would have it at the bottom of the
That was
scene?
like Nashville local league wrestling.
Like team parties in Stadium Inn.
Yeah.
So that's not a good idea.
So how about UFC? Are you a UFC fan? And if so, do you have a favorite fighter?
Man, you know what? I'm not a UFC fan like that. Like I'll watch it.
Have you been to a live one?
So my friend Marday, when they did, dang, what was it said? It was like it wasn't at like it might have been at like Bailey's or something in Rivergate. Yeah. So I went to go watch him a bunch of years ago. It was fun and it's rowdy, it's fun, but
It's an event. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to go see.
I watch boxing
just
before I watch UFC
Yeah.
though. Just the art of boxing for me is just like, I just love boxing. I grew up on boxing. So
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a kind of a good local story. I know, Conor McGregor's making his comeback fight, and he's going to be fighting a local Nashville guy.
Michael Chandler.
Michael
Okay.
Chandler.
I think in Vegas, right?
In
Oh,
Vegas.
really?
Yeah, so this is McGregor's first fight in
Comeback.
3 years, comeback fight.
That'd be a good one.
It'd be a good one.
So just another example of a local
Even if he
guy.
loses, he still wins.
He still wins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
That's how you want to set it up.
That's all right. Do you still like pizza?
Yeah. I actually had Dicey's pizza last night.
Oh, you know what? I just got a lunch on my calendar, and it said it was Dicey's. I had no idea what it
It's
Dicey's
great.
was.
It's great.
It's good.
I live
It's
really
good.
close to there, so it's a
I
good
just
spot.
had Dicey's. Yeah.
Market research.
Yeah. But just chilling, just with the friends, and like they did a little a talk at Soho House, and it was like, man, let's shoot over to Dicey's, which is right there.
Yeah.
It's right there, yeah.
Get some pizza.
Yeah,
So it was
I like
cool.
that.
Okay, so who should we do this with next?
My wife, Martisa Johnson Moore, she's the chief public defender in Nashville.
Wow.
So she'll shed some light on a lot of things that's going on in the city of Nashville. Jamar Dowdy, he's assistant DA. He can shed some light on some of the
But they have some good conversations.
good conversation. Yeah. We always do. Isaac Adai.
Oh, we had Isaac on. He's
Isaac
so
on.
great.
Okay, cool,
I love
cool.
Isaac.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
Man, the list can go on, man. Vivek at Taylor.
Vivek.
Yeah. He's dope. It's just a lot of.
Yeah, he's an EO now.
He is okay. Cool. I gotta go ahead and get on in there.
You need to get in. Come on, where are you? Okay, so if the best way for our listeners to find out about Slim and Huskies, is it to go to the Buchanan Street?
No, you can just go online and just find out what we're doing. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're on all social media platforms. On great online presence and
very connected in the community, in
yeah.
politics, and
And available on Uber Eats. We order there quite a bit.
Uber Eats. And we got a thing next week starting with Blavity. So it's like Morgan DeBond. Like we got a concert going on at the Municipal. So
wow.
got some good people doing some great stuff at the Municipal, trying to like revive it. But
That's awesome.
Monica, Lil Wayne,
Lil Wayne.
Freeway.
Yes.
It's gonna be a good.
Y'all
good
putting that
concert.
on?
Not us. Blavity's putting it
Blavity,
on,
okay.
but we have a set, little
awesome.
set that we're gonna do there. Like you get 40 minutes. Just it'll be the time.
The
where
three of
everybody-
you?
Yeah, it'll be the time where everybody go get their pizza or food. But it's cool. We'll be on stage.
awesome.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Well, this was very cool. Thank you so much, Mo, for joining us for another
problem. Thank you
episode
for having me.
Climbing
It
the
was fun.
Charts. And we can't wait to catch you guys next time.